Yeah, very good. Well, listen, I think if you're good with starting, Michael, then I'd like to do just a quick intro if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, so I'm just asking, is this being recorded or had you planned to record or are we not doing that?
It is being recorded and also a backup of recording. So we should,
Very,
I think we'll be good.
yeah, very good. So, hey, listen, as a way of, I first of all wanted to say thanks to everyone for taking the time out of your day, afternoon, or evening to join us today. I put out an invitation here a few weeks ago because what Michael is going to cover today is something I've become pretty passionate, a big believer in because it's helped me. And so I'm not a salesman, never aspire to be a salesman, but whenever you believe in something you're using, then it's called gifting. It's called sharing. It's for all the right reasons, right? Michael Hoffman is going to teach this workshop today. Michael is the founder and CEO of Lean Mail, as you can see here. I was introduced to Michael about 3 years ago. I think it came off of, as I mentioned on the video that I sent out, kind of a trade show or so I got introduced. But sometimes you never know what door is going to open up. And what captured my attention was the word lean and mail, and and there was a few things that made me want to be open-minded about this. And the bottom line is, for me, it took a lot of waste out of my process. But Michael comes with a big history of coaching and mentoring. He's an entrepreneur. I think 18 years this business has been going on, and you can correct me on that, Michael. But he's written books. He's involved. He's a former symphony conductor. He's got a little wealth of different experiences. But what I really have liked the most is he's a good guy, and he thinks lean. He thinks about how we can make things better, more improved. And so I'll stop there. Again, with thanks to everybody for taking time out of your day to join this. Michael, thank you.
Well, thank you. And I've got to say, you say you're not a great salesman, but you sold me. Really nice introduction. Thank you so much, Dan. And I want to welcome everybody to the power of managing email using lean principles. Besides being the CEO of Lean Mail, I've been collaborating with leaders and startups to Fortune 500 companies around the world as an executive coach for nearly 18 years. I'm originally from New York, Westchester, New York, for those people who are in New York. But I spent the last 3 decades in Europe, and I currently reside in Barcelona. So the Lean Mail method and added was developed after studying lean exhaustively and researching every possible solution using Outlook without the external modifications. So really Outlook out of the box, the way you have it today. And I tinkered until I realized that I couldn't really find anything that was a viable solution. And a viable solution for me was never dropping the ball. That was the most important thing for me, because there's a period of my life where I was in the music business, and I would be receiving hundreds of emails. And I thought, how do people do this? And then I found out, well, nobody does it really well. So, and I think that's why people are here today to some degree. I think you're probably wondering, okay, what does Michael know that I haven't already tried? So in a nutshell, you're going to learn why you haven't been able to reach the level of productivity and organization in your inbox that you are able to do in other areas of your work. And then I'm going to demonstrate how easy it is to do that with some extra functionality in Outlook. And furthermore, you're going to be able to pick the functionality you want based on the needs that you have. Right? So this is not one size fits all, but you can actually choose which parts of our methodology in our software that appeal to you and you want to use. So this is not, I hope this is not going to be your typical webinar, because I need your full attention. Because today's goal, we have a very important goal, and that is to determine if you're ready to embrace this new possibility. That means that you shouldn't wait until the end of the presentation, very politely. I don't want you to be so politely today, or polite today. I want you to interrupt me at any point. We're all friends. We all know each other. So feel free to shout out, hey, Michael, stop the show. Explain this a little bit better for me. Or how do you do this? And Dan, when you feel like the group needs a little bit more explanation, I hope, and you, Bala, because Dan and Bala are both users for years. So I hope you will help me with that in case some people are a little bit timid, and I appreciate that. So,
well, first of all, Michael, nobody is timid on this line because we at Momentive, we are not timid folks. But
really?
second of all, I appreciate what you just said. One of the things that resonated with me early on was when we had the conversations, you were very genuine about saying, look, if you don't understand something, pop in and ask. I think that's very helpful in any type of meeting like this. Thank you.
Great. So this is very informal. Okay. So there are 3 things to help you decide whether you want to try a new solution, any kind of new solution. And I want you to keep these 3 things in mind. And the first one is, does the presenter, that's me in this case, make a good enough case for a transformative improvement? So I'm not just talking about better, but a huge step from where you are now. So if you don't feel at the end of this program that, it looks good, but I don't see this as bringing me to the very top level, then probably it's not for you. Does it look simple enough for you to learn it in minutes without a manual and without having to ask your help desk for assistance, right? That's a downer. That would not work very well. And would you be able to return to your old way if you didn't like it after the trial? So and by the way, there's no payment necessary until after you've actually tried this. So first you're going to learn about it, then you're going to be able to try it, and then you're going to decide if you want to buy it. And so it'll take less than 2 minutes to go back to your old way. So I want to tackle that last question first, and that is, there's no problem. It takes 2 minutes to get back, maybe even less. So you will be able to go back if you don't like what I presented. Okay. Let's understand a little bit about Lean. So today I'm going to be introducing you to a new methodology based on Lean thinking. And if you're not so familiar with Lean, don't worry, because it's not a prerequisite. It's just a plus. And really, Lean focuses on doing the most you can with the least amount of effort. Right? It sounds pretty simple as it is. And for our purposes today, we should keep in mind the 3 tenets of Lean. I'm going to give you my 3 tenets. Dan might have his own 3 tenets, but I think we'll probably agree that these are in that landscape. And the first one is to be able to identify value. So in email management, that means that there are certain mails that are more important than others. Now, unfortunately, when they're coming into your inbox, and actually after they've come into your inbox, it's very difficult to identify which are the most important ones without rereading them all the time. And think for a moment, how do you ensure that the most valuable mails get first priority? Now, I'm not even talking about urgency here, because maybe you can't do a mail on today. Maybe you need to reply to that mail on Wednesday of next week after you've gotten more information. So how do you practically keep track of all that? I want you to think about that in your minds right now. And what about the ones that are not so important, but need to get done at some point? How do you fit that into your email inbox schedule? How do you work that out? And for most people, it's like, well, when I get to it, I'll just find it in there or somebody will remind me. Okay. The second one is removing waste. So whether you're a beginner to Outlook or you're like an Outlook Olympian, you could easily remove between 20 and 60% of all the unnecessary activities in your processing today, simply by adding some functionality. And I'm not just talking about deleting mails. Think of all the wasted time you spend scanning your inbox all the time for things you need to do, or moving them to tasks, or writing them down. All of this wasted time. Why are we doing that? Right? It's not because we're designing that process. And the last one is continuous improvement, or Kaizen, if you're familiar with that word. So if you think about who here feels like you're so much better at managing email than you were a year ago. By the way, I want to ask that question literally. Is there anybody here that feels like, my email management has really taken off in the past year? Or do you feel like it's basically almost the same since you started managing email? Anybody have a reaction to that? And not you, Dan or Balik, because I know your answers.
It's far,
So,
far better, I can say, compared to the previous Outlook. When I use Outlook alone, the previous emails will not be on the top, right? So we may miss something. The commitment, there are potential chances for missing the commitment. And here, after using the lean mail, it was very clear who and what is the action pending and when we are going to do. So we got that option to click on. No, nothing will be there in the inbox and everything will be prioritized. So that is something I liked it.
right.
Very much hassle free. I'm not promoting or marketing for lean mail. As a user, I'm really, really happy. And if I go back to the original Outlook, it would be overwhelming for me to prioritize nowadays. So I'm very much used to that and used to with I mean
I gotta
I'm
say,
very much used to lean mail. So that's the thing.
thank you, Bob. I really appreciate the fact that both you and Dan are really underlining the fact that you're not trying to sell this in.
And Mike, one thing, Mike, I
Yeah.
do get many mails. Okay, in this role, mails are not that much. In my previous roles as a customer service leader for a region, and I used to get 300 to 350 mails. I'm really regret you would have introduced in the year 2015 itself. We were struggling with all those 300 mails. Even today, my customer services team would be having a number of mails. They are the one function who is to get 500 mails per day per person, I believe, from various distributors, customers. Real struggling, I know. So that is why we invited customer services leader as well, the director, but unfortunately she's not here. That function, I believe, would be very much, benefited. So,
Yeah.
prioritization matters a lot here.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. That's all I have.
So you make a really good point, especially with customer service. And I want everybody to know, I'm not going to cover our shared inbox functionality, but we have that as well. I'm going to be focusing just on personal inbox functionality today. But just so you know that we supply that, we remove about 70%, that's 70 of the time people spend in that shared inbox when they're using our functionality. But let's move on. You've been working with Outlook for so long, and you're so good at your other tools and other processes. What is it about email that is stopping you? Right? It's really well, and the truth is, it's not you. I mean, you certainly wouldn't attend a workshop regarding email management unless you had a keen interest in improving, which means that you've probably already tried any number of ways to improve how you're managing your inbox. So what I think we need to understand, what we need to realize, is that no one has cracked this nut. Everyone struggles with email, more or less. Right? I'm not saying that you're completely lost, but I'm also not saying that you're completely satisfied, or you wouldn't be here right now. And I promise you, if there was somebody that had found some amazing feature or magic combination of functionalities, at least one of the 400 million Outlook users would have found it out by now and shared that information with everybody, unless you believe there's a huge conspiracy going on, right? So the world really is round, folks. There is no conspiracy. It's just not happening. And let's take a look at why. So our premise is that it's a lack of functionality that's hindering your efficiency. And so to illustrate this, I'm going to compare the evolution of the automobile technology with that of Outlook, just to show you how outdated our current approach is to email management. And let's first take a look at, you notice here I have 2004 on the left, I have 2024 on the right. So on the left, you see a cutting edge Mercedes at this time. And you'll notice that there's a cassette deck there, and also a GPS. GPS was brand spanking new at this time and just amazing to have in the console of a car. So this is the most cutting edge car that I could find at the time. And now let's look at 20 years later, from cassette decks and tiny GPSs to automatic braking, lane assist, and now full autonomy. In Germany, you don't even have to hold on to the steering wheel. It's legal now in certain areas to just let the car drive by itself. That's pretty amazing. Now, let's compare this to Outlook and what has changed in Outlook. So here is 2004. And notice that on the left, you have the folders. That's where they used to put the folders. In the middle, they would put the mails. And on the right, they would put the reading page. That was in 2004. In 2024, we had the folders on the left and the emails in the center and the reading page. What has changed? I mean, we had rules back then. Right? The main functionality hasn't changed. So since email has changed dramatically since then, and remember, all the statistics prove that email is growing about 3.5% annually. So if you think about that, the amount of mail that we deal with today is significantly greater, and yet the technology has stayed the same. And let's face it, even in 2004, we weren't able to keep up with things. And it's around 2004 that I started dabbling with this. So what's going on? Not everyone feels like they're struggling, but I'm sure there are times when you feel like there's too much volume. And I'm going to cover these 9 areas. And if somebody feels like I'm missing out on something, please scream it out. I'm not going to be able to see you raise your hand or anything. So just scream it out. But I'm going to cover what I think are the 9 most pressing challenges that we have. They're volume. They are holding on to your priorities, not somebody else's, not somebody constantly bombarding you. Did you get my mail? Are you going to answer my mail? Planning. How do you plan? Wow, it's really tough in Outlook to actually plan when you're going to do things and to be able to see groups of mails that are for certain things and of certain priorities and of certain urgencies. And how much time do you want to spend on email? Wouldn't it be great if we could cut that in half? And then your responsiveness. I know that everybody here has a good heart and wants to be responsive to everybody. But sometimes it's very difficult to put these things in the right order. As a matter of fact, I would say it's impossible to move things around in your inbox so you get them in the right order. Then there's that wonderful search functionality. I don't have to tell you how bad that is. All of this is causing us stress. And we keep trying to come up with new systems. And finally, we all find ourselves on this hamster wheel. I think you can all relate to at least some of these. So what do we do about it? We do workarounds. And let me explain. So a workaround is just a temporary solution. It's a band-aid because you can't really get into the root cause. About 80% of you, or the general public, is using the mark as unread. And so what happens is you'll mark something as unread, and then you'll read it again, and then you'll mark it unread, and then you read it again, and you're going back and forth like that. I think everybody can probably agree that that's not a very effective way, but it's one of the easiest ways, so we kind of stick with it. Then we put things in folders, hoping that we'll find our way back to those folders. And that system doesn't work because, oh, I forgot about that folder. Oh, I really blew that deal. Then we try going through right-clicking and going through 6 steps in order to mark mails as to be remembered, and then we end up just snoozing it. We're using lots of rules, and we use rules as well in lean mail. But let's face it, all the rules do are put the mails in some other place. It's not really helping us be more efficient or effective. Then some people also will open up mails and keep them open until you get them done. I hope that Outlook doesn't crash before that happens, because who knows what happens with those mails then. So that's another way of doing it. Or there is a way to drag your mouse into your tasks. And now let me just quickly tell you, you can drag a mail from your inbox into the task icon, drop it on there, and it will create a task, which is a very good thing to know about, because there are some mails that you want to make tasks out of. The same thing you can do with the calendar. You can drag it to your calendar. Unfortunately, if you do that and you miss it on the day that you were supposed to do it, you'll forget about that forever. So same problem. And then we finally give up on Outlook because it's not really working. So we go to Teams Planner. Well, if it's going to be a task that's going to take a certain amount of time, that's a pretty good idea. But it's not really for those micro tasks that you just need to take care of when it's time to do that. If that doesn't work, you go to your Excel sheet and start making a to-do list for your emails. Think about that. And then if that doesn't work, you'll actually make a list. And I know there's at least one person in this group that actually makes a list of things that they need to remember to get back to in their Outlook. And think about it. Now we've reverted from digital to analog. Something's really wrong there. Post-it notes. So there must be a better way. And there's a reason why we are the clear leader in the domain of email management for Outlook. And it's because we're so simple. There are only 2 steps in our process. And I know that if there were 3, we would lose about half the people. This has to be so, pardon the expression, dumb, simple, that people will attract to it and follow it. Right? So, because there is, of course, a change management part to this. It's probably the most important thing. Because right now, you're just kind of grasping at straws and trying to do the best you can. And we're saying, hey, follow 2 steps, and we have your back. So the first step is simply to prioritize your mail, and we call that the triage. You come to your inbox, and you go through your mails, and you decide to either delete or archive or give them a priority, and that could be high or normal. And we choose high or normal because we're working with the Pareto principle. Maybe you've heard of the 80-20 rule. It is the absolute best rule for prioritizing your mail in Outlook because it's so simple. It's only 2 possibilities. You either need new tires or you don't. It's either hugely important, and if you miss it, you're going to lose sleep over it and get a little mini heart attack, or you won't, just something you need to do. There are only 2 priorities in email. Once you're done with that step, which takes about 20 seconds, which takes about 1 minute for 20 mails, so it's very quick, then we plan. And that is also a 2-step process. So either you're going to plan a next action and write, actually, you're going to take a note right on your mail of what you need to do next so that you can avoid rereading that mail 6 and 7 times. Or if you can do it right away at this point, now that you've got your mails prioritized and you have the most important ones at the top of your inbox, if you can immediately take care of it in less than 2 minutes, do that using David Allen's 2-minute rule. The second step is adding a when date to that. And I'm gonna demonstrate how easy it is to do that. There are no drop downs. You're working always from your keyboard, and it's just so darn easy to do this because it's so intuitive. And I hope you will find this process very intuitive when you see it and when you start to use it, because we're depending on that. So that's the control part. That gives you complete control of your inbox. You will never drop a mail. You will never forget. You will never lose anything. And that's actually what you need. And that's actually what you deserve. So what I'm offering is a decision-making machine. And once you start using it, you're never going to watch TV in your inbox again. What do I mean by watching TV in your inbox? I mean that zapping through your inbox as if you're watching late-night TV looking for something really good. I mean, who doesn't check their emails in between meetings? You're checking your emails. But if you don't add value in that process, meaning making a decision, removing things, on every single mail, then you're wasting so much time. And so, as I said earlier, this is process oriented. So there is no more checking your emails. I mean, I'm not going to say you're not going to look on your phone every now and then and look for urgent things, right? But most importantly, you're going to use an add-on that's going to help you manage your mails in a very easy and processed way. So this is the guarantee. These are the benefits that I'm offering you. You're going to make sure that you focus on the most important and urgent things. You're going to find your archived mails instantly. It's going to make it impossible for you to ever miss or be late for a mail. And we're going to reduce all that clutter, and so that you can end each day with inbox zero. And I'm not talking about the inbox zero you hear in the YouTube ads and so on. This is very easily done for everybody in Outlook. So you're not dragging things to your tasks and all of that. You're going to do that within Outlook itself. Okay. So I need a volunteer, and I don't want it to be Dan and or Bob. So who would like to volunteer? Just need your. It's not a difficult task at all. But can I get a volunteer to scream out and say, "I'll do it," or I'll start calling you? Do I hear somebody? Please. You're going to be demanding. I'm going to call people. Nicholas, would you mind?
You woke me up, Mike. Sorry. No, no, just kidding. Yeah, what can I do for you? You want me to read these?
All I want you to do is put these in order. So look at them right now and tell me, what is the first one you would do intuitively?
Well, I would say probably me personally, I would say eat dinner.
And you are right.
Yeah.
And
brush teeth, set alarm, and sleep.
That was great. Since you're so good at this, I'm going to ask you to do the next one.
Awesome.
Whoa. But I'm going to read them with you first. So we're going to do the same process here, and we're going to find out if this is intuitive for you. So I'm going to read you the process mixed up, and then you're going to put them in the right order, just as you did with the earlier one. Act upon the high priority tasks due today. Get an overview and organize tasks by urgency and importance. So that's the quick triage. Then act upon important tasks due in the future that you can't respond to today, and act upon tasks due today that are not as important but urgent. So that pretty much covers all your emails. So what would be the first thing that you would do?
I would say get an overview and organize tasks by urgency and importance.
There you go. Now, that's out of the way. You can see which tasks are important and urgent. What would you do next?
Act upon high priority tasks due today.
And I promise you, I did not give you these in advance. Okay, so and the next one, what is that?
Act upon tasks due today that are not as important but urgent.
There you go. And the last one.
Act upon important tasks due in the future that you can't respond to today.
Okay. So all kidding aside, this wasn't that tough, was it?
No.
Why aren't you doing it? That's a rhetorical question.
Right.
So the point is, you all know how to do this, and yet you're not set up for it. That's the problem. So right now, all your emails are sorted by arrival time. That is not really helpful. And yet everybody's inboxes look like this. So that means that when you go to your inbox, there could be $1 million or €1 million contract at the bottom of your screen, even below the bottom of your screen, and your new Facebook friend is at the top of your screen, hopefully not having Facebook stuff in your inbox. But that is a possibility. So think about that. Is that the way you want your inbox sorted? No. So why don't you change it? Because you can't. Now, in the old days, when we had analog mail, what did people do? They would put things in piles, right? You'd have a junk pile, the stuff to file, and then you'd have stuff to do and the really important and urgent stuff that you would do first. And we stopped doing that when we went digital. Why? Because for some reason, they didn't make it easy to do that. And so that's one of the first things we do in Lean Mail is enable you to work according to the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule, where 20% of what you do accounts for 80% of your outcomes. Is there somebody who disagrees that that's the case? 80% of your website traffic comes from 20% of your web pages. 80% of your delays come from 20% of your tasks. 80% of your sales come from 20% of your customers. Any disagreement here? It's not exact, but it's something like that, right? And then there's the inverse. You wear 20% of your socks 80% of the time, right? So you can apply Pareto to everything, and especially your inbox. So 20% of the mails that are giving you 80% of your output, and darn it, they should be at the top of your inbox. Should they travel anywhere else? That other 80%, if you threw them all away, nobody would really notice. Not much. They remind you again, whatever. But that 20%, that's what wakes you up in the middle of the night if you've forgotten it. So why don't we place them at the top of your inbox, just like this? With the 80% below that, why don't we lock that in place so that they stay there? And what about new mails that are coming in? Well, they go into another place. And then you prioritize those so they end up in the right place afterwards. And I want you to know when we're prioritizing our mails, we're using a few buttons. You're just clicking on buttons, which is different from what you do today of clicking on mails. So same amount of clicking to get to the next mail, right? You click on a button and the next mail comes up. The difference is when you're done with that, you actually have grouped your mails by priority. You've gotten rid of all the waste, completely different setup than what you have right now, all by doing the same amount of work. All right, I'm trying to, there we go. And this one part, as I mentioned to you earlier, that you had different modules. This one part is called Lean Mail Prioritized. It's one of the 5 modules that we have. Even if you had just this one module, think about it. All the quick to answer mails, they're done. There's no waste. Everything's in order of importance, and all mails get previewed so that you have an overview. When people say to me, well, does AI do this? How are you going to get the overview of what's going on in your inbox if AI is reading this? I'm not saying that that would be helpful. I'm just saying it wouldn't work out in terms of you getting an overview. So look at the difference between what you end up when you go through your mails the first time and what you end up on the left if you have Lean Mail and you go through things. Any questions so far? Now I'm going to talk. I'm going to jump to urgency. We've just focused on prioritization. That's the first part, if you remember, in the triage. Now we're going to talk about planning. Different module. So here, I'm going in your head right now, and I'm trying to think what you're thinking when you're reading your mails. And you're thinking, oh, this is not so important. I can wait until Friday. Or this is really important, but I can't do it until next week because I need to speak with Robbie. I just want to have this information in front of me for that marketing meeting tomorrow. Oh, but how do I make sure it doesn't travel below my screen? Right? This is how we're thinking. And each mail has a certain level of urgency. Some are really urgent that are due today. I got to make sure I do that, and they're not combined. Right? They're just all over the place in your inbox. It looks like this. These are all your urgent mails. As a matter of fact, it's exactly 200 mails. So I'm giving you an overview of your inbox that you really don't see. Right? You see just around 40 mails, but it actually looks more like this. And these are just the really, really, really top most important mails. It's not even 20% what I'm showing here. But it looks a lot more like this. You know, I'm not going to clutter this. You wouldn't be able to read all these things if I really added one for each one. Each mail has a level of urgency and a level of importance. How do you remember that? And I swear to you, there are so many people who say, well, you don't have a pretty good feeling over that. Oh, really? Do you have a photographic memory? Most of us They just want to know when to do the mail. Just tell me, why doesn't Outlook do that? So we decided that we would create a space in Outlook up there and put something called today, so that when we pressed on it, click, I'm only going to see the mails that I need to do today. We did that process already. We did the prioritization and we did the planning. So we can see, and not only that, but we're going to add a note to each mail that we can't immediately respond to because it takes more than a couple of minutes. And we're going to put a next action in so that we don't have to reread that mail. No more rereading mails. That is a waste of time. That is actually the biggest waste of time in email management. Right? That is where the most waste is rereading stuff. And you know how much energy you lose? Yeah, you do. You do know how much energy you lose. So, and then because you've added the first module, you'll also have that in the right order. So think about this. How much better can you get your inbox than having the mails that you need to do today in the proper order? So high priorities at the top. So you're going to make sure you try to do those first. And if you can't do those two first because for whatever reason you can't get a hold of Peter, then you just push it to the day when you think you can. And that's also extremely easy. So you see exactly all your tasks that you need to do in this dashboard. It's not reminders, ding, 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 that don't tell you anything, but an actual dashboard that tells you what you need to do. And I'm going to show you in a moment just how simple that is. Actually, I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to cut away to Outlook, and I've set up my inbox now so that you can I'm going to use some fake mails. And you can see here in my toolbar, and we're only going to focus right now on the toolbar with the 3 modules that we're working on. You're going to see prioritize. That is a view. That is a view of your inbox. So your mails actually don't leave your inbox. We don't move them anywhere. We just filter them according to what we need. So this is showing the mails that need prioritizing. This is where we will plan. These are the mails that are due today. And these are all your mails. I'm going to show you that in a moment. But we're going to focus on prioritizing. And all I'm going to do right now is prioritize my mails. And the way I do that is I click on these buttons up here. And I can see in the reading pane what I need to do. So I'm just going to give this a normal priority. And then delete that one, delete this one, don't need this one, don't need this one. Then I need it. This is a normal priority, little high priority, another high priority, normal priority, delete this one, don't need this one. And I can tell from the subject line as well, and then the sender. So you can see how fast this goes. Normal, high, another normal, and finally another normal. So I want you to notice now that we've left the prioritize view because it's empty. So this is this is called Kanban. So we're moving from left to right automatically. And we find out of these mails that need planning, only 4 of them need planning. So now I will give them planning date. So I'll say, first of all, I'm going to decide what I need to do for this. So I'm going to give Chris, run the numbers on Ace hardware. That's what he needs to do. Don't pay attention to the reading pane right now because it's all fake, right? And this here, the 15th of November, which is tomorrow. But actually, I need to do this today, so I'm going to write today. I can also do it on the 15th by writing just the 15th. I can say tomorrow is Friday, so I can write Friday. So the point is, do you see how easy it is? I'm doing this all from my keyboard, never lifting my hands off the keyboard, and then I might even say in 2 weeks. How about 3 days before Christmas? So you see how agile that is. But like I said, I need to do this today, and I'll go to the next one. And this next action is a marketing meeting. I need this for my marketing meeting tomorrow. So I'm going to put this for tomorrow. And I'll go to the next one. And this is the Capterra mail that I need Linda for in making an answer request. And I'll keep this date for that. And then this one is Richard. I need to talk to Richard about who's getting the lion's share of this deal. And I'll also keep that for today. Notice I've prioritized all my mails. I've planned all my mails. So I've done all the heavy lifting in the front end. So now it's smooth sailing. I will never drop anything. I will never lose anything. Everything is in the right place. Notice here that my high priority mails are at the top, normal below that, and below that I have a personal. I can see exactly what I need to do today. Yes, David, I'm going to get back to you about Elon and about Richard Branson, don't you worry. And Kristen, I've got you here. I'm going to get you the results of the sprint with the CIA. We're all kidding about all this, just to be clear. But I just put in some fun the next actions here. But I noticed that one of these mails for David is high priority, another one is not a high priority, but I think it should be, so I'm just going to drag it up there. And notice how they stick together, Steve. Right? So everything is going to stick together because this is alphabetically placed. So if I write next actions correctly, and of course we train you to write next actions correctly, but the point that you should understand about this view, this today view, is it's everything you need to do today, and nothing you don't need to do today, nothing that you need to worry about. But if you want to worry, or actually if you want to replan your emails, you'll come into the all view and you'll take a look at this. And I notice that I have 2 mails for Sylvia on the 15th, which is tomorrow. And you know what? Why don't I do that tomorrow instead? And there's one down here as well. I'll do that. I'll bring that up so that all of them are ready to go for the same phone call. Okay. Anything else that I could combine that makes sense here? No, I think we're looking pretty good now. So you can see these are the mails that are due today, tomorrow, and actually all of these are due tomorrow. Sometimes they'll be separated because of the time of day that I do this in. So let me just put them all together, make it look neater. And then if I decide, actually, this marketing meeting, it's just been moved to next Tuesday. So, sorry, next Tuesday. And you'll see it's been moved down here. And since I will put this together with this one. There we go. Any questions about this so far? You'll notice a couple of mails here say post-it, my post-it. That's because they're not emails. These are mini tasks that I've added to my inbox. And let me show you how easy that is to do. So I'm going to add a task that's going to come up on my other screen. Hold on. There we go. Here it is. And I just need to remember to bring milk home. And I'll post that in my inbox. And it'll automatically add a next action. It'll be put forward today, and it'll have this post-it. So let me go to the today here. See it here. Here it is. And so, but actually, my wife is going to kill me if I don't get the milk. So I'm going to put that as a high priority. There it is. So you can actually add little tasks to your inbox at the same time. So I'm gonna. Are there any questions? Anything that you feel like you need more clarity on before we go back to the slideshow? Oh, then I'll move back. And we're just about to leave. Let me just get to. So there we go. So every 2 weeks, we update the results from our customer survey. So after all the trainings We are getting surveys, and then we have a master results panel, and we add them to this so that we can keep track in real time of what our customers are saying. It's an aggregation of all our customers in history. It's about 10 years of customer aggregation, and this is where we are today. 42%, sorry, people feel like they're spending 42% less time on email in aggregate. 59% greater control over their inbox, and 94% in those 10 years have recommended email. So if this is something that you feel that you would like to try, let me tell you how that works. First, there's a 90-minute training. We call this the trial because you do not have to, we will not invoice you until after that training. And if you say stop, that's it. We understand. And by the way, of course, you can leave after 30 minutes if you don't like what you're seeing in that training. But this is no go, no go. No go is no invoice. Then there are 2 more trainings, and then another continue. Then there's personalized help from then on. And that means you're not just going to be able to send us an email if you need help. We will get online with you personally and fix any problems. The truth is we rarely have any major issues, so it's not difficult for us to do that. I want to point out this little quote down at the bottom here. Lean Mail softwareizes everything I want to do in Outlook, but can't. That's the way I think a lot of people see this. You're all very bright, organized, disciplined people, but still it doesn't really work because you need those little missing functionalities that we're providing. Now, as a favor, I would like to ask you if you wouldn't mind taking out your cameras right now and just pointing your camera to this QR code and answering a short survey after this presentation. But I'd like to stop now and just ask you about any questions you might have. Some people are concerned about IT, so I'll answer that first. And then IT has already made it possible for you to take on this added. I want to make sure that you understand individually that we are not touching any data. That would be a no-no. There is no cybersecurity risk. The only thing we're doing is affecting Outlook by filtering things and creating dashboards and moving things, but we're not touching your data. We don't have to worry about GDPR. As a matter of fact, the only data we receive is your email address, your mobile phone, and your name. And of course, the name of your company. So in terms of IT, you're good to go. Now, you might have some other questions, and I'd love to field. Does anybody want to make any comment, good or bad, about what you've seen today?
Hey, Michael, it's David here. Just a couple of comments. I look forward to getting my emails from you. Now, just a couple of comments. One, this looks great, first of all. It reminds me very much of a similar system. There was a system called Control Your Day with Outlook. I can't remember the name of the author. There was a book I read a long time ago. It's a very, very similar sort of system. But it's just the efficiency of just keeping everything in email so you're not having reminders to remind yourself to go back into Outlook to look at things. It's I currently try to run a system similar to this, but again, I use folders, and you know, for all the reasons you said, though, you put things in folders. I only have 2 or 3 folders, but to try to put that priority in there. But you don't go back sometimes. You're busy, don't go back, and it's the failing of that system is quite clear. So this looks very good to me. It's very interesting.
Thank you, David. I want to make a comment about what you just said because it's really astute, and I think a lot of people, many people will think that, well, you know, I kind of do this, and it's pretty similar. And I want to say that we're handling tens of thousands of emails. So just one small incremental thing can cost you hours, if not days, a year. So, and if you add up all those little tiny increments, you're talking about weeks. So you could be on the beach instead of doing email, you know, or you feel more comfortable on the beach, I should say, than doing email. So it's one of those things until you've been using it for a while, and I think, Dan, you'll probably answer to this, because I remember you did not onboard as quickly as you thought you would. And then the moment came and you said, whoa, now I get it, right? So it can take a little while before you realize that if I follow this pretty much to the letter, I'm going to get so much more out of it. Do you remember that, Dan, when you were first trying this?
Yeah, put simply, I pushed back significantly because I just really, I was the why. I asked a lot of questions, and yeah, there was a point where I was like, you know what? Yeah, I totally get it. And there was one screen you mentioned. For me, I never felt good about leaving the end of the day. I'm thinking, man, there's something I didn't answer. But when I was able to prioritize, and when I hit that last email of the day, I'm like, I feel good about logging off right now.
Hard to relay that feeling to people, right? Especially when you get it every day or most days. It's very hard to relay emotions, and that's what a lot of this is about, actually. That's why the stress dissipates. Bala, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I didn't ask why. I asked how. I'm an early adapter. When I got this, immediately I adapted to this, and really it has benefited. And I got the assurance from Dan, and he asked all the whys, and when it comes to me, I asked how.
Yeah.
That's all.
And you just made an important point again, and that is you asked Dan because you knew Dan was using this, and that's
Right.
also in terms of spreading the word of this. You're not going to believe me. I'm the quote unquote sales guy here, right? And that's why it's so great that you guys have spoken about this and are really helping people understand the benefits of using this and being advocates, because people can
And
trust you
especially-
guys. Yeah.
Especially my post-it, that's very much useful for me. Not, I don't use it for personal maximum. I'll use it for to-do list. And we always keep to-do list separately in OneNote or Microsoft to-do list. But every time we need to get into another app and check. Sometimes we miss that. Here, always we would be there in the mails. Definitely, this will remind us to do things at the faster rate, so without a miss. And also the commitment to others. This is something very, very useful for me in terms of daily management.
Great. Yeah, and again, what you're saying to me is there are certain things you have some ways of using lean mail that might be unique to you, and it reminds me that I should be asking more of our users what kind of neat tricks they have in the way they're processing their emails. They can share with others as well. So
That's true.
we still have a few minutes, but if you feel like you've gotten what you needed to get to today, you're free to go. And I want to thank everybody. And first of all, Dan, thank you so much for, first of all, being an advocate of lean mail, and second, for being so kind as to invite others to share in this. I really, really appreciate that. And Bala, thank you also so much for hopping on here and supporting. So I really appreciate that. And all of you for taking the time out of your day to take a look at this. Much appreciated.
At times, good things should be shown. It deserves for a shout at times. So
thank you all.
It's a good thing.
I will be here just in case somebody wants to ask me a question. I'm just going to stick around until everybody's gone. So feel free.
Thank you, Michael. Really appreciate it. I'll hang on as well if anybody's got any questions my way as a colleague.
Great. Thank you.